Josh.
Meet you.
God.
Oh, we've met
Vito.
before.
Hey.
You're the point person.
Inside out of it.
Everyone.
And one little piece of toast.
Public Works Committee meeting. Let's begin by approving the minutes of our previous meeting. Chair will entertain a motion. Mr. Bruno on the motion, second. Mr. Niles on the second. Thank you. All in favor of approving the minutes of the previous meeting, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Without objection, we'll begin today with solid waste and recycling, and we do have a presentation without objection. I'd like to move up under privilege of the floor. Scott, would you like to do the introductions?
Yes, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Over the past few years, Warren County has been engaged in discussions about how we manage materials, not just disposal, but reduction, reuse, recycling, compost, and the long-term economics of our system. That conversation has included the DPW, our recyclable and compost working group, community partners such as Zero Waste Warren County, the Adirondack Compost Education Council, and supervisors who have expressed interest in examining whether there are practical ways to strengthen diversion while remaining mindful of operational realities and market volatility. Bob Geddert is a recycling consultant with 45 years of experience helping communities move towards sustainable materials management using a systems-based approach. He has led resource recovery efforts in cities and counties across the country, including serving as director of Austin Resource Recovery, chief of recycling operations for the city of Fresno, and directing recycling activities in communities across Ohio and Indiana. In Fresno, under his leadership, landfill disposal was reduced by roughly 75% through strengthened recycling and composting programs designed to be financially durable. His work has often focused on building public-private partnerships and local markets that treat materials not simply as a cost of disposal, but as a part of a broader circular economy. He's the former president of the National Recycling Coalition and recipient of its Lifetime Recycling Achievement Award. This is an opportunity to better understand what has worked elsewhere and what lessons might apply to a county like ours. With that, please welcome Bob Geddert.
Greetings, everybody. Nice to see you remotely. I am to present some best practices that I would like to recommend for your consideration. Could I have some sharing permissions to share a PowerPoint?
Bob, you should have it now.
Got it. Coming up. Here we go. And as Scott noted, 45 years career in recycling. I am now semi-retired, working as an adjunct professor, and I offer free services now because I am retired. So this is take it for what it's worth. Free advice from my career. I'd like to build upon the thoughts of increasing recycling infrastructure and increasing recycling collection, and the advantages of which is reducing long-term disposal dependence and reducing trash hauling expenses. It increases the recycling program stability just simply by increasing your volume. And you have more marketability of your recyclables with increased volumes, and increased program options and flexibility when you build up your recycling infrastructure. The options that I offer you to consider is residential drop-off. It's primarily a rural county. The big city economics of recycling infrastructure and building MRFs is not economical in your case, and so the offered service would be various different residential drop-offs and with separate material bins and avoiding the commingling collection. I find that very important in cost efficiencies for recycling programs. Is the commingled collection, sometimes called single stream, adds significant cost to the recycling program. And so working with recycling drop-offs, a separate material bins for each of the materials collected. You can, therefore, with separated bins, you can market clean sorted recyclables with minimal sortation to nearby MRFs or regional markets, individual regional markets. And part of the infrastructure support might be buying a baler or two, because baled recyclables offer better revenues than loose recyclables. One of the questions that I'm asked a lot is the market volatility, the revenue stream for selling recyclables. And it is a recognized system of commodities within the marketplace. Recyclables sell in the marketplace just like corn or soybeans do. And the commodity rates go up and down with the markets. This volatility can be managed to some degree with the increased volume and collection of recyclables and reduced contamination of recyclables. The buyers of the material will tag contamination and really lower the price of the value of the recyclables if there's significant contamination. So that's a way to handle the volatility, is to work on reducing the contamination. Seeking long-term market agreements adds stability to the program as well. Avoiding the spot selling of recyclables and entering into long-term contracts creates a stability in the price range. And contracts often add that stability as well. Contracts with regional MRFs or a direct contract with regional marketplaces that receive your recyclables and make new products. The improving of revenue stability can be managed through clean and sorted recyclables and avoiding the commingled single stream collection, as I mentioned before. Couple thoughts about the material sectors to be served. As you build out your recycling program, consider these 4 sectors as client bases, basically. The residential sector of single family units, the commercial sector, including apartments and offices and retail environment, and the industrial, institutional, and government buildings, which offer a lot of white paper, which I'll mention a little later there. And medical and special waste streams is a very difficult sector to service, and I'd highly recommend not servicing that sector until you have a bolder, larger program that can handle that type of material stream. I recommend that you define your target sectors. Is it residential solely, or is it residential and commercial, which is what I would recommend. Commercial materials add stability to the revenue streams of the recycling program, because commercial streams are often cleaner and easier to sort and offer a stable form of revenue, particularly on paper, office paper, and cardboard. There are different potential revenue streams based upon the sectors you serve. So selecting your sectors offer different expenses, but offer different revenue streams. And a way to handle the expenses of servicing these sectors is applying service fees. And those service fees may vary based on the sector that's being served. Programs that can offer financial support require a design of the program to increase volumes and reduce contamination. I mentioned that earlier, and I mentioned that repeatedly because stability of the program is really based on those 2 basic principles there. And data collection and analysis is a way to offer operational efficiencies. I working with Retrack and other organizations that collect data, offer you the ability to expand your program and expand your infrastructure based on facts and figures and data collection. And the way to work with the revenue streams is to look at it in twofold. There's collection fees and market revenues. Often we're all familiar with market revenues, and I talked about the volatility of the market revenues. Collection fees are real common in recycling programs, in curbside collection, in drop-offs, in services to commercial enterprises, services to institutional enterprises. It's a way to support the direct cost of the program. And I often recommend on small recycling programs to utilize the market revenues to support the education and growth of the facility. Growth meaning capital investments. It's a way to manage the cost and expenses directly related to the revenue streams. I also recommend in working with numbers to calculate the cost per household and not per ton. It is a temptation in the industry to calculate the cost per ton in recycling, and that number is a not realistic number that can offer any advice on expansion of the program. The best way to measure the growth of the program and the expenses of the program is the cost per household that's being served. And I often compare trash collection and disposal with the cost per household of recycling and marketing of the recyclables, both the expenses and revenue. And in doing so, I generally find in most communities that recycling costs less per household than trash collection. Part of managing the cost and optimizing the revenues is phasing in pilot projects before making any major capital commitments. Sometimes a major project to expand the recycling program involves capital equipment and staffing, personnel, and so forth. And phasing in a pilot project allows you to ease into the expenditures and also to experiment with the new pilot projects. The experimentation is important to determine success or failure of that type of a pilot. Seeking program operational efficiencies is something that I recommend to all programs. That's a specialty that I've worked on in my career. Working on the expense efficiencies, but also the revenue efficiencies through its operations. And part of that is developing measures of success. How do you determine whether your program is successful or not? Part of that is measuring tonnage and percentage of diversion, but part of that is what's the percentage of the population that's using the program, the participation rate. And if moving the pilot to full implementation, I always recommend phasing in geographically. Geographic service tends to manage the cost of transportation, internal transportation as well as external transportation. And so moving that pilot into a fuller program, I often look at the map and look at which geographic pockets to service first. Phasing also allows for a slower expense growth, as I mentioned before, and phasing offers revenue exploration as you're gaining new types of materials that you're collecting. Operational and overhead considerations, I recommend using the full cost accounting system where you evaluate all expenses, direct and indirect expenses. The types of expenses that you might be measuring include contract fees, rent and utilities, salaries and benefits, fuel, supplies, office expenses, accounting, data collection expenses, governmental oversight expenses, and public education expenses. And there are other categories as well. Those are the major categories. And I always evaluate the cost impacts, trash versus recycling. What is it costing to do trash collection? What is it doing to cost out recycling collection there? engaging in residents and stakeholders is part of building out the recycling infrastructure, engaging in the residents prior to major expansions as well as during any expansions. Effective community outreach includes the input from residents in the development of pilots and programs, community meetings, and resident buy-in before the program is implemented. You don't have to convince a resident to use the program if they're part of the design of the program. They're already buying in to the future of the program. Public events to increase recycling program awareness. There's a difference between awareness and education. And public events offers that awareness that the program exists, and community education is an educational device to encourage people to recycle right, not to contaminate the stream. These are the recyclables we're collecting. These are the non-recyclables we're trying to avoid, what we call contamination. School education is always integrated into community education because the kids bring the message back home to the parents and reinforces that recycling education. And I mentioned earlier, data collection is extremely important, and it gives direct feedback to the residents. It's a way to report back to the residents how well the program is doing. The economics of the recycling market, obviously the volatility, as I mentioned before, but individual product lines have different market valuations. And in the collection of newspaper, mixed paper, magazines, a pretty stable market. But your best item to shoot for in that category is white office paper, which has a very high market value. And you can capture that white office paper in offices, institutions, schools, businesses. It tends to stabilize the market revenue of a program as you target white office paper. Cardboard is an extremely stable item to market as well too, but the commercial sources have higher values simply because they're cleaner. And then the residential cardboard, like the Amazon type boxes and so forth, had a lot of labels on them, and those boxes are recyclable, but at a lower value. And the commercial sources of cardboard don't have the labels and offer the better market value. In the metals category, beverage and food cans are the common item to collect from residents, and aluminum brings in the highest value and generally supports the metals category in revenue streams. Steel food cans, they're just simply stable at about $15, $20 a ton forever and ever, while aluminum can yield around $100 to $150 a ton. So there's a lot of difference in valuation there. Glass is a very, very low value. You need a long-term market to supply the glass. It is a part of the program that I highly recommend to keep in the collection program, even though it doesn't bring in much revenue, simply because it's a high weight diversion. There's a tremendous amount of glass in the stream, in the residential stream, and it adds to your numbers and is very much worth the collection despite the low market value. Likewise on plastics. Plastics have a low value as well too, but there's complicated sort standards. There's investment in labor to make sure the plastics are sorted correctly and then marketed. So there's investment in time and energy and expense in both glass and plastics, but I do recommend that they stay within the program. Some additional economic considerations of recycling is the cost benefit of recycling through the measurement of climate impacts. I recommend that the program list an initial goal of annual tons recycled and change that benchmark every 5 years, increasing your goal, changing the goalpost every 5 years. An example might be a goal of 10,000 annual tons recycled. That's the equivalent of 20,000 tons of GHG emissions also equivalent to 50 million miles driven by an average passenger vehicle. So there's tremendous impact, positive impacts on your recycling program. Those are measures to present to the public when you are achieving certain goals. Also in the cost benefit category there is the reduced dependence on landfills and the reduction in the waste streams to the landfills. And that is worth measuring and bragging about to the public. There's also reduced environmental impacts and increased job creation opportunities in the field of recycling. So that concludes my general advice and presentation, and I welcome any questions whatsoever.
Maybe we'll take if there are any brief questions, anyone have any questions for Bob today? Well, hopefully, Bob, you can, our working group can utilize your expertise going forward. I hope that would be possible.
Yes, I'd welcome the conversation on an ongoing basis.
Very good. Thank you so much for being with us here this morning.
And thank you for taking in the information. Hopefully it's been useful.
I'm sure it is. I think it's been very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Well, to continue with privilege of the floor, anyone from the public wish to address the committee at this time? Yes. Can you just step to the microphone if you would? Step.
Okay. Hi, my name is Pema Reed. I've been a member of the Zero Waste Recycling and Food Waste Recycling for some years. And I have a question. I live in an apartment complex, and talking about recycling in apartment complexes, there is usually, I know at the Mill and at the Cedars, these are places where there's mostly seniors, but there is a specific recycling bin along with several trash bins. The problem being that it's not managed in a way that there are dirty pizza boxes. There are cans that haven't been cleared out. And in my specific case, the person who was handling the recycling bins decided that there was no reason to have a separate bin for the newspapers and magazines, so throw it all in together, which usually contaminates everything, because if there's a dirty stuff in there, plus there's things that aren't recyclable that are thrown in. This is a very common problem. And I was hoping to ask how other cities have worked with these issues, because as far as I know, often it just goes to the burn plant and gets burned. And I've tried calling some of the different trash collectors, and it's very ambivalent. Oh yes, we recycle, but then we hear that oftentimes everything that's been recycled just gets thrown in with the garbage and sent to the burn plant. So, which is another problem in itself. Thank you. That's just the questions that I have, and I'd love to hear some suggestions of how to change that.
Scott, you want to take a brief response to this?
Yeah. Thank you, Pema. Yeah, in my role, I've been looking at just the feedback loop in general. You know, there's a lot of misconceptions. There's a lot of things that I think some residents think it's not getting recycled in the first place. So I'm trying to, some of it's direct communication with the haulers to somehow get a better feedback cycle, or even with multifamily units, like, you know, in my mind, if they want a clean source of recyclables that they can market, then it would benefit them to get a better stream of material. So maybe even part of that discussion is just working with the waste haulers on their feedback with their different customers and clients. But so, yeah, I don't disagree with anything you're saying, but I'm trying to think where the levers are and how to approach that.
Mhm. Yes, can you state your name and,
Good morning. I'm Mary Beth Wagner and I live in Glens Falls with my husband Joe. And I'm laughing because there was an M&M's wrapper that didn't make either bin here and I put it in the recycle bin. And then I took it out because I noticed that the recycle, I put it in the wrong bin. Anyway, I'm just curious as far as Warren County goes. Do most residents, does the majority of residents take their trash, their recyclables and trash to a transfer station now? Or is it the other way around? Or are we equally split? Because when Bob mentioned collecting cost per household information and comparing it, I thought that might be tricky for us as a county to do. So I'm just curious where we stand on that. Thank
maybe
you.
just a quick, Scott, break down private versus,
So the majority is private. I would say 10 to 15% of the material goes to transfer stations. And then the rest is private haulers currently. We are, and Bob mentioned it as well, we need good data to make decisions moving forward. So we are implementing a new software system called Retrack that I think is going to help us have a clearer picture of where we're at, what the diversion rates are, and will help kind of answer some of those questions as well.
all right, thank you. Anyone else? Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for coming by this morning. And,
Get the ball rolling.
and if you'd like to leave, go right ahead. We understand, believe me. Kevin, do you want to talk a little bit about, the wetlands?
Yeah, so as you all are aware, we have, and Scott's been working with DEC. I still don't think we have a signed contract back to us yet for the pilot program for the composting. With that being said, we were looking at several sites as part of that composting pilot. One would have been the Stone Quarry Road site, which is off of Queensbury Avenue, and then the other one would have been the Tony Pit, what we refer to as the Tony Pit, which is our facility up in Lake George, just south of Warrensburg. Scott was waiting because there was new DEC freshwater wetland permitting or regulations out, so we had to submit to DEC and have them provide some comments back to us, and we did receive a letter, and they said, based on the area of interest identified, there is I guess I want to say an area of interest contains freshwater wetlands and or regulated adjacent areas that meet unusual importance criteria. Doesn't mean that we couldn't do something on that site. It just means that it's going to evolve into a little more permitting and such if we were to choose that site. We've actually looked more into the site that we have up in Lake George, south of Warrensburg, and that seems to be a more reasonable facility or site to do the composting in. One of the main reasons is it's easily accessible off Route 9, and we have an overabundant supply of wood chips that we would use in the composting process. So, but I just wanted to give you an update for that now, and then Scott would give an update on the working group.
Okay, I'll begin on the working group, Scott, if you allow me. We lost Supervisor Merlino to the working group, but Supervisor Dave Strader has graciously accepted to replace Gene on that working group.
Where's
Dave?
that graciously coming from?
We appreciate your
Good luck.
volunteerism. Scott, I'll turn it over to you.
Sounds good. Thanks, Supervisor Strainer. Look forward to you joining the group. Yeah, just a quick update. Our working group, which meets monthly to discuss recyclables and compost, and is part of the reason why we were able to get Bob Gettert to join today as well. We've been looking at, for compost, as Kevin just talked about, we've been waiting on the determination for the Stone Quarry Road site. In the meantime, we had moved toward the Tony Pit site, which I will update that the APA came back and said they will not require a permit for us to move forward with the compost site. We would just need to work with the town of Lake George, which Dan Baruch has already been looped into that. So it feels like there's movement on that end. The thing that is still held up is the Climate Smart Communities grant. We still don't have the official grant contract. We're trying to nudge that along as best we can, but part of it feels a little bit out of our control. In addition, with recyclables, to piggyback off of our conversation with Bob Gettert, the working group, we're hoping to present to the DPW committee, not today, you know, a more specific business case for a pilot that we can, you know, start small with some sort of pilot, pick a certain commodity. So we're working on a business case to present to the committee for a viable plan to move forward on that. I think that's all I have for the working group.
Okay, well, thank you. Anything else for solid waste?
I think that's it.
All right, then, one more time, privilege of the floor. Anyone wishing to address the committee at this time?
Sorry, Mr. Chair, I just had one question on solid waste. I noticed that Mr. Bob Gitter identified the difference between metal and aluminum, the massive cost differential of $150 comparatively to like 15. Are we dealing with like the volume of metal though, that it makes sense to separate it out, meaning, or is like the amount of labor we put into separating those metals just doesn't make sense to do it?
It's a good question because all the transfer stations seem to be a little different. The UBC or the beverage containers that have the highest value, you know, the majority of those do get returned with the, you know, the bottle bill. So it's worth looking at because a lot of transfer stations just handle their metals on their own because they do make at least some revenue off of those. So yeah, I think part of our plan would be to explore, yeah, what are the benefits of separating and is it worth it based on the economics and other benefits?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good question, Supervisor Patrick. Good question. Anyone else? All right, then, without objection, Kevin, what would you like to move to next?
We'll go into Parks and Rec next.
Parks and Rec without objection.
So to start off, before I get into, and this kind of goes back to what I had said earlier, but before I get into the action agenda items and new business, I just want to inform all of you that, not that I want it to happen, but Dean Moore is going to retire fairly soon, in fact, in March, as the Director of Parks and Rec. Dean has been with the county between Up Yonda and Soil and Water and then to Parks and Rec for 32 years. So I'll say he's put his time in. He surely is going to be missed. We certainly, when we brought him on 3 years ago, thought he was going to stay much longer than what he has, but I certainly know after 32 years, Dean has done a lot and he's certainly been an asset to Parks and Rec for us. So with that being said, we can turn it over to Dean to start doing his action agenda items.
Still working, sir. Yes,
What
sir.
we have here.
3 action items. First one, I'd like to just request for an amendment to the budget. We had an increase from the Bolton Architect for Up Yonder Farm. Originally it was 2,500, it was increased to 3,750. Thank you to the town. That helps cover the cost for the programs we do with special preventers, wildlife, things of that nature that have gone up. So,
All right, Chair will entertain a motion to amend the budget. Mr. Schraner, Mr. Bruno on the second. We're ready for the question. All those in favor of accepting the dollars signify by saying aye. Opposed? Carried. Next item.
second item is a request to accept a donation, $5,000 from the Friends of Up Yonder Farm, which covers our assistant naturalist position, which has been a great asset. It frees up the naturalist to provide the programs that we do and actually work towards new ones, so on and so forth. And the benefit is we should have a returning assistant naturalist, and that knowledge base will help out considerably as well. Helps out throughout the year.
Very generous. Chair will entertain a motion to accept the request. Mr. Schraner on the motion, Mr. Niles on the second. I'm sure we can generate a letter of thank you.
Oh, absolutely.
To the Friends of Up Yonder. Thank you.
Sir.
All right, if you're ready for the question, all those in favor of accepting the 5,000 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next item.
Next item, we have been approached by the Log Jam Restaurant, Candace White and her family. They're going to be celebrating their 50th anniversary coming up, and they wanted to do something for the community. One of the projects they had proposed was to put in a garden at the 149 off ramp to the bikeway. We're in communication with them right now about a design. And and just waiting to hear back. I provided them with plant lists from Soil and Water. We're about to meet and just have a discussion about that. I did have to lay out on the line that unfortunately we could not necessarily do all the maintenance, and they had no problem with doing that aspect of it. Because there's nothing worse than bringing something on board and not maintaining it and having it not look good. So we're on a clear understanding of that, and
Okay.
I think it would be a good asset, and we should be able to report more next month. Have some more information.
Can we bring this forward for consideration? Mr. Strainer, Mr. Bruno, again, thank you. Any further questions? Ready for the question? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Next item.
Next items on there are the information for discussion and review. Before I get into all of them, I just wanted to, I had a brief update. I know that Dean brought the increased rate last month for the use of the fairgrounds facility. We have had, since 80K Glamping has left, we've had a increase in requests to use the fairgrounds. We've had several for 3 or 4 days overnight. I just had a request to use it for a full season. With that being said, and I don't think that the county attorney would disagree with me, is I think if we want to move to that decision-making for another all-season similar to 80K Glamping, that we would have to go out for an RFP. So I guess I don't need a resolution. I just need committee to let me know if that's what they would like to pursue, is to go after another RFP for the fairgrounds. And then if it's a yes, we will put out an RFP and we will bring back, proposals, if that's the way the committee wants to go.
This would be for another glamping use.
Not sure. We put it out as an RFP for the use of the fairgrounds. We didn't specify the last time we put it out. I certainly could, but I think it could be, someone might come in and want to say they want to put soccer fields on there. So, sorry, I look at Dean because that was one of his suggestions years ago. So I don't know if you want to pinpoint that down, or we just want to leave it open as what type of use. And then we could determine from the proposals what we want to do.
Any thoughts?
From a legal perspective, the scope would have to be decided when you do the RFP. So that's really up to the committee, whether you want to have the Department of Public Works work that up. I would think having it broader brings you more possibilities for the property and potentially some more value. But I do agree absolutely with the superintendent that the RFP process should be used if you're thinking of, basically, it wouldn't be a license, it would be more of a lease agreement for the property for an extended period of months each summer, for one or more summers.
Yeah, I mean, I would think that it goes beyond a general use permit that you issue. This would have to come through, I think, the board of supervisors.
Yeah, I'll add on to that. We had put out an RFP, a general one, as Larry just referred to, for when we brought on the original glamping outfit, and then somebody else bought them out. So that was a general RFP. I think it would benefit us to do that. That was a $26,000 a year, give or take, from glamping revenue that we lost. Now we have no revenue coming in from the fairgrounds.
Supervisor Niles?
Thank you. Can you give me a little background? In the past, if we had a seasonal arrangement, does that mean nobody else can use it, or do
No
they
one else.
sublet sometimes? or-
No. There,
I mean, I went by there a lot, and there's not much activity there all summer except those.
yeah,
That's
so,
what's
and
that?
a lot of it was probably weekends more so than anything else
That's
that we had noticed, but there's been times before where like 80K Glamping would partner with Americade or partner with somebody else to allow, or give their patrons use of the tents at a discounted price maybe. But typically, if they are going to use the fairgrounds for something like this, then it'd be for the entire season and really not much else for anybody else to use. And we've never had a lot of use in the fairgrounds since, I've been here since 2008. I think for years we had the 4-H group, which has now moved across the street to Cornell to their newer facility. So then we had Warrensburg Bike Rally and glamping since then, and those have been the only, and we haven't had a lot of requests for use since then. I've only had the recent activity now because glamping has gone, so there's been several other outfits who hold events here every year that are looking for 3 or 4 nights to allow people to tent or camp on the fairgrounds.
And the only thing in the lease is vacant land, right? Still
Yeah, they
buildings.
get to use the pavilions, everything on the site. Yeah.
Thanks.
And to move forward with the RFP, you would just need the committee to say move forward. It wouldn't require the full board, I don't think, until we have a contract.
No,
No, there's no need for any formal action on it. It would just be a kind of a head nod so that the superintendent knows that you know that in the future you may see some responses coming back to the committee.
Well, then maybe the way to approach is say, without objection, I don't see any, Kevin, you can move forward with an RFP and report back to committee what you come up with. How's that sound?
again,
Is that all right?
Good
Mr.
idea.
Bruno, is that everybody? Okay, very good. Next item.
I will turn the rest over to Dean.
Sure, just a real quick update. I presented at the last, second last board meeting. There was a change in our stocking program. The state has taken back the salmon program with an agenda that they plan, which is okay, because we're gonna replace that volume of fish we typically raise in our ponds with the rainbow trout. We'll have a better, fall stocking project and program, and it'll benefit, the ice fishing considerably in the area. So, just wanted to give you an update from the hatchery.
All right,
Um,
Mr. Bruno.
yeah,
The question.
Yes,
is,
sir.
So the state has taken back, so to speak, the salmon
Yes.
stocking. They're gonna continue that program? or-
They will, comes down to, the parameters they had for the program, the species they wanted to utilize and be able to manage and maintain.
The reason I asked, I saw an article somewhere recently, and it sounded like, salmon stocking was gone and
No, it's a matter, it's a 5-year plan for them. The first step is kind of getting control of the situation, limiting to where they're gonna raise their stock, their breed and how they're gonna
And I was gonna say, and Dean, correct me if I'm wrong, but the stock that we were doing was in Lake George and they weren't seeing the numbers. They weren't seeing them be caught, whether they were being taken by other fish and such, but they weren't seeing the numbers that they expected.
Okay, thank you.
All right, next item.
Very quickly, just an update on the railroad on-call operator. I know we went through a little bit of budget money trying to fix some washouts, some severe washouts that we had in Thurman back in the day. Last year, we utilized the tail end of that funding to do some preventative work, and we were able to get to several culverts that needed to be cleared out. Hal was able to do some ditching and some very productive things that can keep things at a $20,000 price tag and maintenance rather than several $100,000 price tag. So, and just on that end as well, with the snowmobile club moving north towards Johnsburg and North Creek, their eyes on the project and the rail line as well as a considerable asset to have as well. So we're not always necessarily out on that line keeping tabs unless it's from Riverell, but we're doing a good job to just keep our eyes on it to make sure that maintenance is being handled and things of that nature.
Yeah, no, I think that penny wise, pound foolish on that one. I mean, let's make sure that we're monitoring those culverts carefully, because when they get clogged, the railroad's not designed as a dam. It can wash out and then cost us dearly.
Correct.
Mr. Bruno.
What was the cost of this? Did we contract with Rev Rail and?
Yes, we did.
Yeah, so we have a term agreement with, we have used Rev Rail in the past to review and look at a lot of our culverts as they're riding their rail bikes up and down. The problem is they don't have the staff to be able to do the required maintenance work, such as Dean just referred to as ditching or culvert work. So we had put out a term agreement contract, and Hal Raven from, I never remember the name of his, SCNH, They won the kind of the term agreement, so when we have issues that come up on the rail, such as Dean said, the washout or some preventive maintenance that we can take care of, we have them do it. Now, as you recall, in budget last year, we received funding in the budget to get a UTV with rail gear, so now Dean's crew will go out and review the track around the season outside of Rev Rail or when Rev Rail's not on the track. And they'll start doing their own maintenance along the track as well. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, next item.
Something that benefits that as well, just tail end down there, Maple in April is something we've committed to for the past 3 years, through, Gene's association with his neighboring, constituents, municipalities. That is the train ride from Corinth up to Hadley Station. And the benefit to that, Hale's involved, the SENH rail line is involved with that too. It's a benefit for both of us. Hale will actually come up, do the DOT inspection of the bridge, the big bridge, and the rail line itself, and do clearing and maintenance to the ditches. Tremendous asset for us. That's what we need. And in return, we allow him to run the line and run some tourists, excuse me, up to that event.
It's not for Gene anymore. It's
I understand. I apologize. I just wanted to acknowledge the fact that that's where it started. So it's just continuing that. And the last item I have on here, and I will distribute as I walk out the door, the Maple Festival will be taking place at Upyana Farm, Saturday, March 7th coming up, and yours truly will be on a cash register, I think. But anyways, enjoy that. Upyana Farm does a great job with the Maple Sugar House. You'll have the tour of the folklore and a tour of the evaporator pan and everything we're boiling, and have a taste test at the end. So that's all I have, sir.
Well, before we conclude, I just wanted to say, Dean, we're very sorry to have you leaving. For those that have worked with Dean, he was just such a hands-on guy. I mean, I'll never forget pulling onto a project, and there was an issue down in the ditch, and who was down in the ditch clearing out that ditch but Dean. And he's that kind of guy. He's just a very a proactive problem solver. And Dean, you've been an absolute pleasure to work with, really. And I wish you the very, very best in your retirement. I'm sure we all do.
Thank you, sir.
Amen.
Thank you.
You didn't see that they threw him down the ditch before you got there.
Anything to shut me up. I'm just saying. Very good. Thank you, sir.
You bet.
The last item we have on there, and I'm not sure we've gotten anything from Ethan yet on this, and Dean and I have both been working with him. The committee decided to continue the discussion regarding grant funding opportunities available for alternate use to study the rail line. But I'm not sure that, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Ethan hasn't got anything yet with that funding or anything to do with the use of the rail line, correct?
No, not at this stage.
Okay.
It's still exploratory, and we're waiting here.
Okay, well, then we can move right into public works.
We can.
Okay, what do we have?
So the first item on there is a transfer of funds.
And there's the.
Time for you to leave.
Guys awake now?
The first one on there is a transfer of funds, and this is to transfer surplus road project funds to covered estimated budgets for the 2026 road projects. So I was asked a question yesterday, and I will kind of fill in everybody today. This is money that was left over in projects from 24 and 25 that we brought forward into our 26 road project budget. As you see, it all seems like it goes into one road project, 13th Lake Road. That's not. When we do a budget every year, the last road project of the previous year is where the money for the budget gets put into. So we're going to transfer all of the money left over from previous years into 13th Lake. And then you will see on the next page, which is the miscellaneous resolution, it distributes that money from 13th Lake to all the projects for 2026. So you'll see that laid out. And I was also asked yesterday for a total of projects. As you all know, I went into the budget season this year with $6.3 million request. After all said and done, the budget officer and the recommendation was to give us $5.1 million. This amount total here for all the projects that you see is $5.267 million, and that includes the transfers that I just did on the previous. Do I still need the 6.3? I do, and I will come back most likely later on in the next several months to request that money out of the road fund balance. So that's where we're at right now. So those two would go together.
All right, then let's, why don't we take them as a motion together, item 1 and 2, Mr. Bruno on the motion, second. Mr. Patchett on the second, I think Mr. Patchett on the second. Any further discussion? We're ready for the question then. All those in favor of the transfer and the allocation signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Thank you. Next item, Kelly.
So the next item on there is a new contract, and this is for the construction contract of the Bay Road Culvert. This is for up by south of Lockhart Mountain, culvert in the town of Queensbury. It's an unnamed water course. The bids will be opened on the 24th of this month. Actually, is that today? That's today. The bids will be open today, so I will have a bid tab for or before the board meeting of who the winning bidder will be.
Where's this? The top of the world, you said?
Up by, on Bay Road, just south of Lockhart Mountain Road.
And when you do this project, is that a road closure? Like,
It'll be alternating traffic during construction.
oh, okay, you're not closing the whole thing?
No. No.
All right, let's bring this forward then for consideration. Motion to bring this forward for consideration. Mr. Strainer, second. Mr. Niles, thank you. Any further discussion? Ready for the question? All those in favor of the contract signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next item.
Next item is a new contract for the award of it could be contracts for the award of the 2026 highway projects. Bids for those will be opened on Thursday. And again, the bid tab sheet will be available and ready at the board meeting.
All right, let's bring item 4 forward. Patchett on the motion, Mr. Bruno on the second. Any discussion? Ready for the question? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next item.
Next item is a increase to capital project. This is for the Sagamore Road retaining wall. The amount of increase is 75,000. It's coming from transfers to capital projects under D9950. So it's coming out of the county road fund transfers to capital projects. This is due to significant changes that have been made at that retaining wall. The biggest change being made is they had to do what they refer to as a tremie pour. They were having issues with infiltration of water coming through the existing stone wall. Every time they would excavate down to where they wanted to put their base course in, that would be inundated or flooded with water. So a tremie pour was to put basically a foundation or a system in place where they could pour in the water. And as they poured, they would remove any of the water material out. So that was the biggest cost of this. And there's some other inspection costs that went away or went along with this. So that's why we have the increase to this project.
Okay. Motion to bring this forward, Mr. Niles on the motion.
I have a question.
Mr. Strainer, absolutely. Question?
What was the original contract price? Roughly.
I want to say
I'm just curious as to how big a percentage. this increase is.
375 to 420,000, somewhere in that range.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Bruno?
What's the status of this?
The tremie pour is complete, and they're doing the next pour on top of that, which is the base pour, and then they will start setting their blocks. So they have till the end of March to be complete as of right now.
Does it look like they'll make it?
Don't know.
Best guess?
It's been a difficult road, I can tell you that, and I think we'll make it because we pushed a little bit more for them to get this done. There may be some other changes, but there also may be, in the end, some issues with the property owner that exists there, but I don't want to talk about them until we have some further status of where the contractor is going to be at. So,
And that issue there is from a while ago.
Correct.
They raised its
Yep.
head, so to speak.
yes. But once we get a final determination from the contractor, and he's given us a final schedule, so if he can adhere to that final schedule, then I will come back with a resolve for the rest.
Thank you.
Anyone else? We're ready for the question then? All those in favor of the increase signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried, thank you. Next item.
So the last action agenda item that we have on there is to enter into an intermunicipal agreement with the town of Queensberry. The town of Queensberry, and I know that Supervisor Stroud is still here, is they are under the gun to get a water line into Jenkinsville residents as soon as possible. With that being said, there's no existing water line is today along Sunnyside Road, so they propose to put one in there. We had looked along with their engineer, the possibility of them doing a directional bore underneath a stream on Sunnyside. That did not work to their benefit, and it would be a significant amount of time delay to their project to get that done. So we worked out an agreement that we would enter into an intermunicipal agreement with the county, with the town, and the town, and this is to the attorneys to figure this part of it out, but the town would put money in an escrow for us to come back, because where their water line is going to go now, since they can't directional bore, is right over one of my existing culverts. As you all know, I did the culvert inspection. This culvert has maybe 3 to 5 years tops left before we have to replace this culvert. So they in turn would put the water line over the existing culvert now, and in 3 to 5 years, I would have to be moving their water line out of the way for me to put this new culvert in. So it's easier for them, and understand that they're in a rush to get this done, but I believe, and Larry can correct me if I'm wrong, we've had discussions with the town supervisor as well as the town water superintendent. They are willing to put money into escrow. We will work out with their engineer an estimate of what it would cost for us to move the water line. It's probably going to be somewhere in the vicinity of, I want to say, probably $400,000 to $450,000. That way they would put in escrow, and then we would use that in the future when we replace our culvert to move their water line out of the way. Now, the reason we worked or had moved in this direction is because, as you all are aware, we just did the Corinth Road culvert replacement. And in that, the water line, we had put in a temporary water line, relocated, bridge it across the stream. And then when the project was completed, that water line was put back over the existing culvert, which is fine because it was a concrete box culvert that'll be there long after I'm gone, and long after probably most of us are gone, because it was a concrete box culvert. This one, there is no water line in place. So they want to put it in location, so it's going to have to be moved. The one on Corinth Road, it was a larger water line, 24-inch water line. And that cost the county for the replacement as part of that project. And you all recall that was 100%. That was a Culvert New York project, so it was 100% funded by Culvert New York, only up to $1.5 million. It happened to came in, I believe, at $2.8 million project, and 700,000 or 750,000 of that was the relocation of the water line to a temporary, and then to move that water line back. So this water line here, John, correct me if I'm wrong, 12-inch? 12-inch. So we looked at cutting the price in half, but 3 to 5 years from now, based on the inflationary cost that we've seen, we think, at least right now, until we come up with a final number, that $400,000 to $450,000 is a good figure to put into an escrow account to be used in the future when we do our culvert work. So
Let's bring this forward for consideration. Are you looking for an action item on this?
I most certainly am.
Okay, intermunicipal agreement with Town of Queensberry. Let's bring this forward for discussion. Mr. Strainer on the motion, second. Mr. Bruno on the second. Any other questions?
This is actually Sunnyside East, right?
Sunnyside East is correct.
And is that the halfway brook that you're
I don't
talking
think
about?
that's halfway, but
Halfway for a tributary.
right,
It is.
yeah.
It's a tributary.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, relocation of water lines. I've done enough of them. They can be problematic. Ideally, what you like to have is on the temporaries be able to deliver potable water while you're working on the project, so that requires a certain level of work. Mr. Patch?
So if you did the culvert work now instead of in 3 to 5 years, would that avoid the $500,000 cost?
They're well in advance of where we are. And it's not our cost, it's going to be their cost.
I understood that. I'm just wondering now. If
Well,
that's true.
that was the original proposal for them to do a directional bore, but with the permitting and such that's in place, it may take them time, and I know that the town is under the gun to get this water line in as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you.
Right then, we're ready for the question. All those in favor of the intermunicipal agreement signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next item.
So the last item I have on there is under discussion items, and that's the Transportation Alternative Program, the TAP funding. We had submitted a TAP application. It was what they call a pre-application to Federal Highway in the state to see if we could get some funding. And this funding would be for multi-use trail modernization and connectivity project. As you're all aware, Ethan Gaddy had done a study on the multi-use trail and connectivity. One of the things that they had pointed out in there was that there was approximately a mile of the bike path that is laid out along Country Club Road, which there's not a lot of room in that area. And one of the other things they pointed out was to reconstruct 24 of the road crossings identified. We took a stab at the pre-application just to submit to see if they would consider this. We put a budget together. I want to say the total cost of the budget was approximately $7 million. That $7 million would to include constructing a new path along Country Club Road, but that would require us taking right away along Country Club Road, but it would get the bicyclists and pedestrians outside the existing roadway. We also would propose to reconstruct those 24 road crossings and to conform with what the Empire State Trail Design Guidance is, and then we would furnish and install new wayfinding signage throughout the trails. Pre-application went in January 15th. They came back with some minor comments. So I think what I'm going to ask for as part of this committee is if the committee would allow me to progress a resolution to Finance Committee, because the grant application so what I would ask for is to submit a final application, and part of that application would include us saying that we could match the local match funding. What I see is this will be a federal aid project, and $5,897,000 of the $7,371,000 would be covered by the feds. The local match would include approximately $1.4 million. We feel that under the D code, the county road fund, $1 million of it would be eligible under there, and then under a non-D code fund, which would be, because the bike path, parts of the bike path fall under the A code, there would be local match funds needed under the A code of $431,000. We have broached this subject with Ethan Gaddy in the planning department to see if we can get funding to fund the local match for this project. So what I would propose is to bring a resolution to finance saying that we could apply for the grant funding, and then if received, they want a letter or some justification that we will provide the local match. We feel we could make it work for the 1.4 needed for the local match. But again, I want to ask the committee if you would allow me to push it through to finance.
It would have to go to finance anyway.
It will. We didn't have it with the indication that we had gotten back from the pre-app only came in last week, and we had already turned in our agenda. So that's why now I'm looking to bring it to finance.
Well, rather than have an action item, I think without objection, if anyone has a specific objection, it would have to go over to finance.
So what are we looking to do here? Widen the bike path on Country Club Road?
So I didn't, I kind of pulled out something out of the Warren County, multi-use trail study that the planning office had created. So what it would do is create kind of a side path to Country Club Road. So current travel lane right now, the bike path basically runs along the edge of the shoulder. What we would do is create a roadway separation of 6.5 feet off the edge of shoulder, and then that's where the bike path would start, and it would be a 12-foot wide bike path just along that area.
So which side of the road would we be doing this on? Both sides or
One side,
So-
one side only,
which side?
one side
one
only.
The right or the left though?
Based on heading north on Country Club Road, most likely it would be on the right-hand side. There will be discussion.
So that's from where the bike path comes onto Country Club Road off of where the parking lot is on Sweet Road.
That's correct.
And how much land are you gonna have to take from the,
Fair amount. I don't have an exact number yet, but we put a number to that $7 million cost. I just don't have the breakdown in front of me of all the, that includes construction cost and right-of-way cost.
we have to pay the landowners for?
Unless they're going to donate it, yes.
That would be the country club, right? They own that.
That's
Yeah,
part
on
of
the
it.
side.
They'll-
Pardon me?
Well, that's part of it. Country
On the
Club
opposite
owns,
side from Country Club.
no, they own both
Oh.
sides.
They own
No,
that.
they got a
but you're
maintenance
not
building.
On the country club,
Yes,
the
yes.
golf course, let me put it that way.
No, not the golf course side. The maintenance and Vic.
The maintenance side is on the north, on the right-hand side running north, but as you turn the corner onto Round Pond
Yeah.
and Blind Rock, that again is still part of the golf course and actual golf course on those. So that's the area that we would look to. We look to go the National Grid utility line route. It's very difficult because of the steep grades in there. And it would be very difficult, and cost would be probably double what we have here. So, and again, there could be donations in land, but we would have to follow the federal guidelines for taking of right away.
So it would go up Country Club, then you take a left, correct? And you go up on the right-hand side on,
Blind Rock,
Blind
Round
Rock.
Pond,
up to Route 9.
not up to Route 9, because that's not
I
what
mean,
like that.
Birdsall.
Up to
yeah,
Birdsall,
Birdsall,
that's
right.
correct.
Okay, all right.
The most difficult area is right in the sharp corner, because then you get down to that parking area on Round Pond to get over to Birdsall, and that's an easy
That's a
area.
dangerous spot there, there's no doubt
It is.
about it. I can.
And that was pointed out in that multi-use study as being an issue or a concern with the bike path, and that would be one thing to look for with some of this grant funding to be able to cover.
And that footage that you probably have to take from the country club would be 12 feet on that side?
It depends on whether we have right of way by use in that area and I can't determine from the report if that's the case. Some of it may be right of way by use that we'll have to purchase from wherever we maintain, and the other may be that we have already taken it in fee acquisition. So it may just be the 12 feet. Yeah,
Yeah, that's gonna be hairy, yeah.
and that's the cost of why it is.
Yeah.
The way it is now.
Expensive, all right.
Right, yeah, move it off to finance. Anyone that's interested in this, it's on the finance meeting. You're not on finance. That's it. And anybody else wish to address the committee at this time?
Private
No.
too.
Morning and thank you. Just a couple of updates for everybody. We've talked a lot about the culvert. It's been almost 2 years, Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong, Hajos, that we've had $12 million bonded. As part of the 3+1 or Cash Vest program, we've now invested that money, so we're actually making some interest on that. That money can only be used to pay down the interest on the bond. So it won't be going into the general fund, but at least it will help defray the costs that we are incurring on the bond to date. So my request is that we please keep communication lines open and proactive. Because when you need that money, we can get it for you, but we just need to have, we just need to know when you're gonna need that money. The second thing is, when you bond, you generally have a 3-year period to use the money. We are coming up on the 2-year period. It would be good to get a line of sight on when we're gonna start using that $12 million. Again, there's some penalties involved if we don't spend it by that time and place. I've asked for the culvert study a few times. I've just never received it. Maybe it would be good to talk about it in the finance committee or even this committee. But I would like to know, because again, we're not using it and we're incurring interest. And again, now with us getting interest on it, at least we'll be defraying those costs. The second thing I just wanted to ask was, to be clear, Kevin, and I don't know if I completely understood you. I know you asked for 6.3 million in your budget for 2026 and you got 5.1. And the reason you did that and the reason you got the 5.1, it was because you had an additional 1.2 in your general fund. So when you were saying you were going to ask for the additional 1.2, were you going to be taking it out of the general fund in the D fund? Or were you going to try to come back to the general fund? I just wanted clarification.
So no, my comment was that I would take it out of the county road fund,
Okay,
not the general fund.
thank you. I just wanted to be clear. Okay,
All right,
thank you.
thank you. Well.
How would we spend that bond money in the next year?
You don't have to spend it all
Oh, okay.
within the 3 years. There's penalties, but it does not all have to be spent within the 3 years. I think if you, and Christine, correct me if I'm wrong, but that typically goes to bands, not bonds, as long as we use it. And then, and the bond was, what was the bond, a 5-10-year bond?
I will get back to you on the specifics, but I
Okay.
believe within 3 years, you have to use between 75 and 85% of it because we had the concern with the last one. But let me get you the details so that, we're spot on with that.
Okay,
Fair enough?
yep, you guys should vet that out and get that resolved. All right, then, Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Bruno, Mr. Strainer in second, all in favor?
All right.
Opposed, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.